I was able to pay off $43,000 of debt in just 13 months, and it would not have been possible if I didn't understand these 12 common myths around being in debt. And knowing all of these easily saved me tens of thousands of dollars in interest along the way. So with that said, let's just jump right into the first debt myth. If I make enough money, I don't need to worry about debt. Income has literally nothing to do with this. In fact, it could actually be more harmful if you haven't built up the right habits yet. Let's look at this. Almost half the earners making $100,000 say that they're living paycheck to paycheck, and 36% of people making $200,000 a year say that they're also living paycheck to paycheck. Even being one of the highest of earners doesn't guarantee financial success. Why? Because they didn't learn the right habits along the way. They think that time after time, their higher salary, their income coming into their bank is going to save them every time, when in fact, it's just not true. I've coached people making around $50,000 a year. They have no debt and they're putting money towards a financial goal. And on the other side, I've coached people making over $100,000 that have over $100,000 in debt, and that doesn't even include their mortgage, and they are stressed up to their eyeballs. High incomes can be deceiving to make you think that you have money. Leading us right into debt myth number 2, paying the minimum payments is good enough. Depends on the context. Paying the minimum is good enough if you don't want to be penalized with extra fees from your lender, but just making minimum payments is not good enough to pay down your debt in a timely manner. And it actually doesn't take a lot of extra money per month to save potentially thousands of dollars of interest and years of stress from being in debt. But this is one of those things that you kind of have to see to believe. All right, guys, so we're in the debt payment calculator, and I don't want to do a full tutorial here. I do just want to show you how little it could take to make significant impact when paying down your debt. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have these 4 loans. You have credit card 1, credit card 2, a car loan, student loan. It's totaling $40,000 that you owe. Your minimum payments every month are $485. So let's assume for this example that you are making minimum payments towards your debt each month. That's what this is. This is how much money am I applying towards my debt each month? Okay, so we are making the minimum. So the extra money that we're paying is 0. Okay, just to show you right now. And when we go down to the calculator here, what it's actually going to do, it's going to take this data and it's going to organize it based on the strategy we select. So Avalanche is going to order it from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. That's going to be the priority. And the snowball method on here is going to show you the smallest loan amount to the largest loan amount. That's going to be the priority. But for now, we're going to stick back to the Avalanche. And now you'll see an extra column here, an extra couple different columns. It's going to show us, based on the information that we've entered, how much interest are we going to be paying for each of the line items, and how long is it going to take to pay off each of the line items. So as you can see, we have $40,000 of debt. Our minimum payment is $485, and we're doing that. But this could potentially cost, this example, $108,000 in extra interest, okay, which is insane. And our debt-free date is July 2050. I'm recording this in 2025. So it's going to take 25 years to pay off $40,000 by doing the minimum. Insane. What happens if we add an extra $100? So I'm just going to add $100 to our minimum payments. So we went from $485 to $585. And when I do that, I want you to look down here at the interest going down and the debt-free date going down. We went down $80,000 of interest, 16 years of stress from being in debt. Okay, so that's just $100, guys, $100 extra dollars. So if you're not motivated to find a little extra money in your finances to pay off your debt way faster, then I don't know what I can do for you. Which is a great transition into the next debt myth. It's okay to take on debt for things you deserve. This one's tough, okay? Because you're never gonna catch me telling someone else what to do with their money. Instead, I just like to show people like you the system that worked for me to help control my money, to help control my spending, and then you can sort of fill in the gaps of your own life, right? Because we're all gonna have slightly different situations. But if I hear someone say, I deserve this thing, then I know for a fact that they just haven't set up the system yet. And that's okay. Personal finances, of course, can be an emotional thing, but it is best when we keep them out of it. I was helping someone with his personal finances, helping him, build his budget, and we were going through all of his transactions, and he had one line item called retail therapy, and it was one of his largest expense items that he had. At the time, I had no clue what that meant, so I asked him, and he simply said that when he gets sad or stressed with the things going on in his life, that he turns to buying stuff to make himself feel better, which is a really, really dangerous game, buying stuff to make you feel happy. And this category was hundreds of dollars a month, right? So we're talking $300, $400, $500 a month. So I asked him, what kind of things are you buying when you do this? And he thought for a minute and he looked back and he's like, I don't remember. He just couldn't wrap his head around the idea that his thoughts and emotions were having such a negative impact on his personal finances currently, and then that's obviously going to impact his personal finances in the future. This video is absolutely not a therapy session, so please consult your local psychologist, but the hundreds of dollars a month that he was spending on, whatever things he was buying could have significantly impacted his debt and had to pay it down way sooner. When we started working together, his debt-free date was in 15 years, okay? So not great. But if we had just completely removed retail therapy and brought that spending to zero every single month, his debt-free date would have been within the next 4 years. That's pretty crazy, right? Which brings us to the fourth debt myth. Debt is just a part of life. Everyone has it. And it's true. A lot of people do have debt. The average personal debt in the United States is $22,713. And that doesn't even include mortgages. And 60% of the largest holding debt individuals, millennials and Gen Z, say that they have literally no plan of paying it off. And that's a problem, right? I'm over this thought that debt has to be this lifelong prison sentence because having this thought normalizes unhealthy financial habits. You'll consistently need to spend above your means in order to be happy or to, think that you need things to move forward in life. And I get so passionate about this because I used to have these thoughts too. 10 years ago, I had no financial plan, no goals. I wasn't even thinking about my finances. My focus was honestly filling up my calendar on the weekends with friends and family of, fun activities or whatever, just to keep myself feeling busy and important. I was only thinking about days, the weeks, maybe months in advance, but now I'm thinking in decades, because every single dollar that you put towards a financial goal, like paying down debt, for example, you are slowly pulling your future towards you. Which brings me to number 5. I'll always have a car payment. It is unavoidable. Guys, cars are getting out of hand, okay? In 2024, the average car payment was $737. Obviously, I know that most people need a reliable vehicle to get from point A to point B. We got to be safe. I've got 2 kids myself. I totally get that. And again, I hate telling people what to do with their money because sometimes you do what you have to do. Like if you need a car, you need a car. And even the used car market has just gotten out of control. But this message is specifically for people that continue to make 3 or 4 year lease agreements and just keep recycling that process. If you're someone living paycheck to paycheck or close to it, the last thing I would think that you'd want to do is be in this continuous debt cycle that you can't get out of or don't want to get out of, because that's what happens when you lease a car, trade it in, lease a car, trade it in. Because even if you're paying off your payments every month and you're on time, I still see it as a missed opportunity to be putting that money towards a more important financial goal. Being in debt is the largest wealth killer for you, and it's the greatest wealth generator for those that are receiving your interest payments every month. Once I started paying for my future and not giving money to lenders, my net worth shot up significantly. It's funny how that works, right? Leading me perfectly into the 6th debt myth. Debt payoff means you have to live miserably. This couldn't be further from the truth, okay? It's all about finding balance. Dave Ramsey, for example, he's the largest personal finance guru in the United States, and he's done a lot of great things and helped a lot of great people, by the way, but his methods and approaches towards debt are probably on the extreme side. He tells people that when they are in a ton of debt, they have to go on a rice and beans diet, okay? And he's saying that sort of half kidding, but I actually like my way much better, okay? This is what my wife and I actually did to pay down that $43,000 of debt in the 13-month time frame. We simply aligned our spending to what I call the North Star goal. So here's how it works. Write down a list of the most important things in your life, okay? These could be financial or just life stuff. This could be anything from paying down your debt, going to the gym, reading every day, prioritizing your kids. And the whole goal is to, merge those two together. So if this is your first time going through this exercise, likely your goals and your spending are not going to be aligned at all. And that's okay because this is the first time doing it. So once you make your North Star goals, all of your spending decisions and really your time decisions, effort decisions, sacrifices that you made should be going through the North Star goals as like a funnel where it's like, okay, is it going to help me improve the goal? Yes or no? Buying a thing or going somewhere. If it's not going to, then I need to reconsider doing that thing or buying that thing. But if it is going to help me reach my goal or get closer to my goal, then absolutely we do that thing. And then everything else not on the list is where we can sort of trim around the fat. And those are the things that we start cutting out of our lives. But it's okay because we told ourselves that those things were not the most critically important to us. So it shouldn't be an issue to be able to do that. I go over this entire strategy in much more detail in my free money course called Dollar Discipline University, helping you unlock your North Star goals, find more money in your finances, to do things like pay off your debt faster so that you can reach the next financial goal. And you can do all this without getting a second job, a side hustle, or doing some weird tag sale. And until my calendar fills up, I'm doing free strategy calls for every new member that joins. Okay, so if you're looking to kind of level up and get a better financial foundation and unlearn your bad money habits to learn new money habits, check that out. And if you actually don't want to talk to me at all, that's fine as well, because this course is completely DIY. I've had people go through there, not even talk to me, and have wins inside the community. So that's school.com/debt. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. Debt myth number 7 is there's no point in saving while I still have debt. First of all, let's clear something up, okay? Saving is not a milestone, it's a habit. And it's arguably the most important skill to build up your personal finance foundation. And while I prefer focusing your money on one financial goal at a time, I do think that saving money as you pay down debt is possible, and you should be doing it. Here's why. So there is a downside to saving money. Actually, you're not going to get rich from it. You're not going to, level up your finances really, really quickly. But what it does do, and most importantly, it helps you not go backwards anymore. And a common saving phrase that everyone should be thinking about is your emergency fund. And if you've ever played a video game where the main character has a health bar, you're going to get this analogy. Think of your health bar as your emergency fund, and the end of the level or the game as your financial goal. So in this case, let's say it's paying down debt. You're going through the game, you're doing all the tasks, whatever's happening, and then all of a sudden you're getting attacked out of nowhere, okay? Sirens are going off, the screen's flashing red, your health bar is going down like crazy. In the game, what do? Do you push forward and hope that you can kind of make it through and get lucky, maybe, right? Because you're almost dead in the game. At risk of, if you die in the game, you go back to the last checkpoint, or you have to start the level all over again. Or do you look over there and you see, oh, hey, there's a big rock and I can do the medkit thing, get behind the rock, do the medkit, wait for my health bar to stabilize, wait for the attackers to leave me alone, and then continue on my journey again. It probably depends on how risky you are, right? But I would say most people go behind the rock, hang out, get the medkit, and continue on their journey. Because the risk of going backwards is really annoying. Like, you just made so much progress in the level or, in the game, and to go back and have to do that thing all over again would be really frustrating. And that's exactly what an emergency fund does in your finances, okay? If you're going through life, everything's fine, you're getting momentum month after month after month, and then all of a sudden, an emergency expense comes out of nowhere. That's the attacking part of this, right? The screen's flashing red. The emergency fund allows you to run over to that rock, get the med kit, chill for a second, and then keep moving forward instead of having to go back to the last checkpoint or the start of the game. Bringing me to the 8th debt myth. Debt is only a problem if you're behind on payment. You might feel like you're staying afloat if you're making your, monthly payments and you're on time and you're not getting any extra fees. But if you think back to the debt payment calculator, it's true that only a little extra money can make a huge significant difference. And just because you can physically make the payments doesn't mean that you should accept the idea of going into debt in the first place, because you're just not thinking about the missed financial opportunities of going in debt and reducing your net worth and making you pay other people instead of paying yourself. But this is another thing that's way easier just to show you. So if we take that $80,000 of potential interest saved over that 16-year time frame and we put that into a compounding interest calculator, which is basically showing us how interest works positively, right? Because this is showing us debt and interest is working very negatively when you have debt, okay? Just an extra $100 going from a minimum to $100 over the minimum. It makes a huge impact, okay? Now we want to look at it the other way. So the $80,000 that we saved from paying off our debt sooner with the extra $100 a month, and how we became debt-free 16 years earlier, let's use that information to see if we were to put that money into some sort of investing vehicle over a long enough time horizon, what would that look like? So we have our initial deposit of the $80,000. We want to see years of growth, 16 years. Estimated rate of return. So the US stock market has historically had returns of anywhere from 8% to 12%, depending on how long of a time horizon. Okay, so let's just be conservative and say 8%. Okay, and look at what we have here, guys. The $80,000 that we saved in our debt that we didn't care about, we were just making minimum payments, it turns into $286,000 in the 16 years. And we're not investing. Look, this is just from putting that amount in and letting it sit. We're not contributing monthly to it. So imagine if we take this amount and now we become debt free and we were making $585 payments, okay? So at the end of this term, let's say we take the 286,000, and we let it grow for another 15 years, but now we're contributing $585, right? It's like, boom, it's a $1.1 million account that you have in there. And it all stemmed from you making the right financial choice and getting out of debt as soon as possible. The number 9 common debt myth is you need a high income to get out of debt. This is so false. Okay, the motto that I have around this is that habit is greater than income. I've had a couple of people tell me that they can't pay off their debt faster because they just simply don't make enough. And I actually love when people tell me this, okay, because I go back at them and I say, well, that's great. And they look at me like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it's great because you're actually in full control of how much money you make. No one else is going to assume the responsibility of the income that you make. So if you don't like the income that you're at and the money that's coming into you, you have the ability to change. The more you give the power and control to a person or a thing as to why you're not making enough money, the less likely over time that you're going to be willing to change it, because you're going to keep blaming that person and that thing and that bird in the tree. And I don't say that to be mean, okay? I'm talking to my past self as well, because I used to think like this as well. I used to think wholeheartedly in this statement that I am worth as much money as someone else is willing to pay me. And I thought that just made so much sense, right? I grew up in a world where I went to school and I was set up to be like in the corporate world, and just the idea of, hey, go to work, try to impress some people, and maybe they'll like you so much that they'll give you more money or more responsibility. And now I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement, and I actually like another one better, which is I am worth how much money I think I'm worth. What does that do? It puts the power back in my hands, right where I want it and right where it belongs. Over the last 10 years in my corporate accounting career, I've worked at 4 different companies, and I'm not chasing money. I was chasing experience and growth, okay? So the 2 to 3% annual increases just were not going to work for me. And if I had found that I had grown my potential in that company, it was time for me to go, because as soon as they told me I couldn't grow, my income was in their hands. The next debt myth is I'm too busy to focus on my debt right now. If we go back to the stat from before, that 60% of millennials and Gen X that are in debt don't currently have a plan to pay it off. Basically, that's 3 out of 5 people have no plan, no clue, no care in the world about it. And 3 out of 5 sounds pretty average. Why do you want to be average? Debt is a part of your life because you're making it a part of your life. Going through life not having a plan to pay down your debt is because you haven't taken the proper amount of time to figure out a solution for it. So if you were to look at where you spend your time, your money, your effort, these are the things that define where your life is currently. So if you rack up credit card debt, you're watching Netflix for 3 hours a night, you eat Doritos on the couch all the time, this is the life that you chose for yourself. And these are the things that you're deciding to focus your life on. But I want you to start thinking in longer time horizons, okay? What would the version of you in 10 years from now want in their future and in their life? Do you think they'd still want to be in credit card debt, out of shape, and lazy? So if it's not good enough for that version of you, why would it be good enough for this version of you? So even if you don't care about this version of you in the current, start thinking about the person in 10 years who's gonna have to deal with all the stuff that you're doing in your life now. So obviously I help people with personal finances and I talk about budgeting all the time. So obviously if you start budgeting your money, that's going to help show you where your money's going. The time part of it is interesting too. If you start tracking your time of what you're actually doing, it's going to help you with 2 things. First, it's obviously going to show you where you are spending your time. Second, as soon as you start tracking your time, what you're going to want to do in your brain is pretend like you are not being lazy, right? So if you watched Netflix 3 hours on a Friday night and that's like your Friday night routine, your Saturday night routine, whatever, and it's time to track your time, instead of that 3-hour block of Netflix, you better believe that you're going to be doing something a lot more productive. Maybe you only watch 1 hour of Netflix and the other 2 hours is, hey, I got to figure out this personal finance thing. You don't want to appear lazy to yourself. So just the fact that you're tracking it, you'll want to do better for yourself. Bringing me to the number 11 common debt myth. Once I pay off my debt, I'll finally be financially secure. Becoming debt-free is not the end goal. It's the goal that we accomplish so that we can apply more money to a better financial goal. Being in debt is the least efficient thing that we can do with our money. Before my wife and I started our journey of paying down the $43,000 of debt in the 13 months, we were living the life of, minimum payments, just kind of rolling through the flow, like, okay, just make the payment. Oh, we got a bonus. Maybe we'll put a little extra more. And it was really just kind of an afterthought. And there became a time in our life. So we had always talked about wanting kids, but these conversations were starting to get a little more serious. Okay. And we did a full audit of our lives, okay? Our relationships with each other, all the things in our life that would possibly make us bad parents, and the debt that we had just kept staring us in the face. So we're like, we have to do something with this. So the motivation was not to pay off the debt, which obviously that was a good thing to do, but the motivation was pay off the debt so that we could be a little more financially responsible when our kids starting to come, and we had, goals for them. We wanted to reach certain financial goals for them. Like we want to be able to put money aside for maybe a future education or whatever, just be a little more stable inside our house. But the fire wasn't lit under our butt until we actually had a greater goal that we saw in the future. And we knew that being in debt was getting in the way of that, which leads us right into debt myth number 12. Once I'm in debt, there's no way out. As my 3-year-old likes to say when he disagrees with something, it doesn't matter what happened in the past, okay, with your life, with your finances, whatever. What matters is that you're here probably because you want to start making a change today. And there's always a way out of your situation. And I'm currently helping people inside of Dollar Discipline University. And everyone's timeline will, of course, be different, but the people that will succeed have the most determination and drive and motivation to make it happen, no matter when it happens for them. And it really all boils down to understand how you used to use your money versus how you want to be using your money. And when I decided to make a change in my own personal finances 10 years ago, I made a ton of mistakes. So it's not about being perfect. It's just about starting and then doing something that you think will get you closer to your goal. So it's not about perfection, it's about direction. And in the 10 years, of course, I had a lot of failures, but I learned from those failures. I learned a lot of lessons, and it actually helped me progress to where I am today. And your personal finances all starts at the core of budgeting and tracking and managing. And it's not what you think. This isn't your grandpa's budget. To save you the time and help you learn from my own mistakes, I've made a video highlighting the 10 biggest budgeting mistakes that you're probably already making. I'm talking from experience and how to fix them. So if that sounds like any fun for you, I will see you on the other side.